Okay, folks, it's your buddy, it's your pal, Mike Messier with a special late night wrestle ride. Haven't done one of these in a while. I want to talk about Bayley. Yes, Bayley, WWE's women's division wrestler, former champion. I believe she was the Raw Women's Champion, or maybe she was the champion before there was a divide. In fact, I think that's the case. She was the, I don't know what you'd call it now, but I mean, basically the champion, the women's champion, Bayley. I believe she defeated, was it Charlotte that she defeated with a big upset with the belly-to-belly suplex? So let's talk about Bayley. I think Bayley is, I think she's the one character in WWE, at least, where one of a few people in professional wrestling that's actually true to her character, that a character people can actually look up to, and she's got some integrity. Bayley has won me over, folks, and I know that I'm very negative, or I don't think I'm negative, I think I'm true to myself and my own opinions. I don't know, and if that's negative, it's because the quality of the shows are negative, but I think, Bayley on the main roster, and I'm not even an NXT Bayley aficionado, okay? Or an expert on Bayley's run in NXT. But I saw this thing, Bayley, like before she was Bayley, or before I was Bayley, or whatever the fuck, and just watching her and at her old wrestling school, her old little shack of a wrestling school, and her therapy sessions with Sasha, which I thought, first of all, as a male, I thought Bayley was very attractive. More attractive in street clothes, as I put it, in normal person clothes than her Bayley outfit. I thought she was very pretty. She looks like she's in her late 20s, and just looked like a cool person, a cool chick. And, there's something really likable about this girl, and I'm not an NXT fan, so I'm basing this strictly on her work. What was I opposed to Bayley? I guess I was, but I think she's just been true to her character. I mean, I was a couple of years ago, but I didn't really understand her. I didn't have feelings for her one way or the other. As far as how she was booked and all that, I mean, I think it's just another thing where in that controlled Full Sail University environment, I'd say different characters or different wrestlers are going to get over better. Obviously, we all know this, but just maybe she was just too aw shucks gee whiz. I was really excited a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of months ago now, when Bayley flipped out and attacked Sasha Banks, and I thought we were headed for this great feud. And I think that, WWE has this weird thing. We all know that it's like they'll start a storyline and then they'll recoil from it. And I don't know why, if they felt that they needed to milk the Bayley-Sasha storyline for many more months and have them do this tag team gimmick and blah, blah, blah. There's no tag team title, women's tag team title as of this minute, unless they're saving that for this pay-per-view. And I know my views on the women's wrestling pay-per-view, and I know my views on Saudi Arabia and all that. But just trying to be positive at this late-night stroll, I'm telling you that Bayley, in my opinion, she's over. She's over with Mike Messier. So for all the wrestlers who stick their thumbs on each other's assholes at pro wrestling guerrilla shows and think they're wonderful, and all the wrestlers that wrestle plastic dolls and think they're wonderful, and all the wrestlers that do these gimmick promotions and then they want to be mainstream, or so on and so forth, and this thing, I have canceled the network, but one thing I never really watched was that making fun of the territories, making fun of Southern Studio Wrestling, Memphis or Florida or Georgia Championship. There's Southpaw Wrestling, which was an obvious dig at the tradition and the legacy of the territories. Vince McMahon, having his wife appointed as a small business administration for Donald Trump Meanwhile, they're the family that put all the small businesses of professional wrestling out of business, okay? So sure, great. But to make fun of the territory system or make fun of the early 80s territory federations, fuck you for doing that, okay? Because those promotions had honor and integrity. And what do you have? You have 40 million plus or whatever the fuck coming in from Saudi Arabia with no women's and no Sami Zayn's and so on and so forth. So beyond all that, the world just changes, and I guess I don't like change in my wrestling. I don't like wrestling being politically motivated. I don't like wrestling being a parody of itself. I don't like that the top 10 wrestlers are sticking their thumbs on each other's asses, meaning the top 10, probably 7 or 8 of those guys in the thumb in the ass 10, the tight of 10, are guys who are, at the top of their game right now. So it's a shame that we're in the steroid era of baseball for wrestling. As far as women's wrestling goes, look, you've got some gorgeous women. You've got the Iconics, and you've got Carmella, and you've got a person who I really think, in my book, Bayley, has won me over. And I think even thinking about her hug gimmick, the world does need a fucking hug. I mean, I was saying this today, that everyone needs approval. Everyone needs a hug. Everyone's looking for a thumbs up or a fucking living for likes. So Bayley plays on that. Her gimmick is pretty good. Not to be a fucking broken record and sound like every other dick fuck, but yeah, the WWE could have handled her better, quote, on the main roster, quote, which basically means, when you say on the main roster, that basically means WWE. It's not like, I hate to break it to you folks, but for those, NXT is not as big as Raw or SmackDown. They don't have the coverage. So unless that changes sometime soon, but that would not make much sense, because the whole point of fucking NXT is to get people ready for, quote, the main roster, quote. So in any goddamn cunt way, I do think that Bayley is over with Messier. Bayley, and I think I even gave her Wrestler of the Week on What Have They Done to Our Sport a few weeks ago. I know JG of Generating Heat is a big women's wrestling aficionado. And I just want to compliment and say, Bayley, you've earned my respect. I'm a hard guy to get respect from these days. And I hope you have a great career. Bayley, I just might need to hug myself. Mike Messier giving props to Bayley.